Good morning, everyone. We're going to get started shortly. All right, good morning, everyone. This is what I like to call a pinchable moment. I am so happy to be with you all this morning. Welcome to the WPS Focal Points Network Ministerial Side Event, advancing the sustainability and adaptability of the Women, Peace, and Security agenda. I am so happy to see so many familiar faces, WPS champions, distinguished guests, and friends. I am also happy to be here with our 2023 co-chair, Romania, and the UN Women's Secretariat. It is now my distinguished honor to introduce the United States Secretary of State, Mr. Anthony Blinken, who will open this ministerial side event on women, peace, and security. Mr. Secretary.
Pat, thank you very, very much, and good morning, everyone. Wonderful to be with you, and particularly wonderful to be with you for this event. To our co-chair, my friend, the Foreign Minister, Reuniunea, and to the UN Women's Executive Director, Simon Bauhaus, thank you for your leadership on this vital issue, and it's very gratifying to know that Romania will be carrying the torch going forward. Thank you for that. And to my fellow ministers from countries across this network, thank you for your partnership. We're also joined by U.S. Representative Lois Frankel. Where's Lois? Somewhere in the House? All right. We're joined in spirit by U.S. Representative Lois Frankel, who has been a champion of women and girls as a co-chair of our Congressional Women, Peace, and Security, or WPS caucus. So it's been more than 2 decades now since the UN Security Council unanimously adopted Resolution 1325. That landmark statement recognized the particular devastating ways that conflict harms women and girls. Combatants use rape, forced marriages, and other forms of gender-based violence as weapons of war. Fighting, interrupting access to essential health services, including critical maternal care. Compared to boys, girls living in conflict zones are more than twice as likely to miss school, and then less likely to return to the classroom afterward. And all too often, efforts to prevent radicalization and stop violence forget that women can be combatants too. At the same time, the Security Council declared that women play a critical role in building peace and strengthening security. When peacekeeping forces include women, they're better able to build trust with the communities they're protecting and address the unique challenges that women and girls face in post-conflict societies. The research also shows that when women are meaningfully involved in negotiating peace agreements, there's a higher chance the deal will be reached. And those agreements, in turn, are 35% more likely to endure. Now, I get to see this day in, day out in my work. I know that it is real, and it's very powerful. Women's leadership is essential in times of war and in times of peace. So, it's imperative that the experiences and perspectives of women, in all of their diversity, are included in initiatives to deliver aid, to end conflict, and to strengthen security. For the United States, we are deeply committed to making progress on these fronts, including through the State Department's Office of Global Women's Issues, led by Ambassador Geeta Rao-Gupta, who is with us today. And I'm so glad to have leading our efforts. This year, we're co-chairing the Women, Peace, and Security Focal Points Network. This is the organization established to try to translate the words of Resolution 1325 into concrete action. So, in this work, we are trying some new strategies. For example, we saw the need for more collaboration at a legislative level, as more countries across the globe strive to pass laws, including women and girls in matters of peace and security. So, in partnership with other governments, civil society programs, and our own Congressional WPS caucus, the United States is now helping to launch a network of women parliamentarians, and we're calling it Global WPS Caucus. Through this group, we'll build new partnerships, new exchanges, and we will strive to exchange, in particular, best practices. One of the things I've been convinced of, doing this for now 30 years, is that on any given issue, for any given problem, there's probably somewhere in the world someone who's actually found a solution. But if we don't share that information, then we reinvent the wheel time and again. So the power of these networks, of these connections, of these groups, particularly in sharing best practices, is we can really speed up bringing them to bear in a much greater part of the world than we otherwise would. This will include lessons that the United States has learned as the first country to turn our commitment to these issues into a federal law through the 2017 WPS Act. So by comparing notes, we will all find ways to make our policies more inclusive and more equal. As we're building this new initiative, the United States will also continue to bolster the global fight for women and girls and the entire community that is fighting for them. One new way we'll do this is by supporting the WPS Centers of Excellence that are building connections between government officials and civil society leaders and helping them integrate gender perspectives into peace and security policies. Now, whether that's developing responses to climate disasters that address the needs of women and girls, or working to combat gender-based violence in partnership with local community leaders, we'll be at this in a variety of ways. Finally, later this fall, our government will release our updated strategy and national action plan on women, peace, and security. This document is informed by years, quite literally years of research, years of consultation with civil society, experts, and it outlines how we'll incorporate the needs and the perspectives of women and girls into our own diplomacy, defense, development policies going forward in the years ahead. So I'm very much looking forward to bringing this to fruition and sharing the results with so many of you. Last note I wanted to leave you with. As we move forward with these efforts, we will continue to draw support and inspiration from this network and all of its members. I'm convinced that together we actually have an opportunity to make the world just a little bit safer, a little bit more peaceful for women and girls, but in turn for all of our people. And if we can do this together, I think we will be able to take great satisfaction in actually having made some progress. So I thank you all, not just for being here today, but for being there every day in this work. As I like to say, these gatherings are important because it focuses all of our minds and attention on a critical issue. But it's a one day. It's the 364 days that follow that really make the difference. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. State Secretary. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Manuela Bercea, Romanian Women, Peace and Security Focal Point on Women, Peace and Security, and I have the great honor to introduce Minister Luminița Odobescu, Romanian Minister of Foreign Affairs. Minister, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary of State, Madam Executive Director, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very honored to co-host together with distinguished Secretary of State Antony Blinken this meeting on the highly relevant topic of women, peace and security and the United Nations. I also thank the Troika members, South Africa and Switzerland, as well as the UN Women for their incredible work in serving this noble purpose, and you all, distinguished participants, for the interest you are showing for this topical agenda. It is with great pleasure that this year the US and Romania assumed the co-chairing of the global network of national focal points for women, peace and security. Our main objective is to promote further our agenda at global level. We aim at bringing together national focal points from all the continents and to offer them a framework to exchange expertise, to exchange views, to share the results obtained at national level. And for this purpose, our action should be structured at least on 3 pillars. First, strengthening the global cooperation in advancing the women, peace and security agenda. Secondly, adopting a forward-looking and pragmatic perspective, and not least, leading by example. Ladies and gentlemen, never before has the opportunity to gather so many outstanding decision makers and stakeholders to speak about this subject being so timely and critical. Our topic is all the more important in the context of Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine. The ongoing illegitimate and unprovoked war that Russia conducts against Ukraine and conflicts around the globe draw attention to the disproportionate impact conflicts have on women as both targets and collateral victims in conflict-affected areas. Nevertheless, despite the devastating toll the war continues to have on their well-being and security, millions of Ukrainian women are mobilized on and beyond the battlefield to support and to defend their country. I pay tribute to their heroism and sacrifice and it's really important for all of us to stay together. There is no doubt on the potential of the women's peace and security and its relevance both at national and global level. But we need to catalyze more energy and more stakeholders in this endeavor. We should harness this potential and be more active, be more vocal, both within our countries and equally at multilateral level. Gender equality and empowerment of all women are essential to overcoming crises and to laying solid foundation for fairer and more inclusive and more resilient societies. Thus, promoting gender equality in law and in practice is a prerequisite for preventing conflicts, sustainable peace building, and even effective multilateralism. Mr. Secretary of State, dear colleagues, dear friends, Madam Executive Director, there are many positive results and experience at national level in implementing the UN Women, Peace and Security Agenda. Gender equality, promotion and protection of all women's rights in general, including across the public life or leading position, is one of Romanian government priorities. I'm also proud to stress that within the Romanian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, women hold 48% of management position in the headquarters at all levels, while 36% of our heads of mission abroad are women. While more is to do, I believe this is a good start, and I'm personally determined to advance our agenda. The promotion and protection of women's rights is a constant of our foreign policy, including as member of the Human Rights Council. And as a recognition of our activism, Romania has been elected as a member of the Commission on the Status of Women, starting with the next year. Romania also took important steps in order to implement UN Security Council Resolution 1325 on Women, Peace and Security Agenda. And in July 2020, the first national strategy and the first national action plan on women, peace and security has been adopted, with the lead of the Romanian Ministry of National Defense and with the participation of the institution of the system of defense, public order and national security within a national implementation group. This is, I think, a unique approach in the implementation of the UN Security Council resolution, and I have here an example to show our strategy. But and now currently Romania is preparing the second national strategy and action plan for the period 2024-2028. Ladies and gentlemen, the sustainability of the results on implementing the Women, Peace and Security Agenda depends on ensuring women's leadership and their full, equal and meaningful participation in decision-making process. And in order for this process to be irreversible, education for gender equality and inclusion is key. Education of children and youth, paramount for a sustainable future, but also education of adults and professionals in different sectors, including those in security institutions. In a nutshell, the meaningful inclusions and empowerment of women and girls needs a complementary bottom-up and top-down approach. We need to do more as a community, to be more involved as a network, more active in advancing our agenda in our countries. With all these efforts in mind, I'm convinced that our meeting today will have a relevant contribution in this respect. I look forward to working with you in promoting the crucial role of women in international peace and security, and to continue our exchanges during the 6th meeting of Global Network to be hosted in Bucharest from 7 to 9 November this year. I thank you for your attention.